Hey y'all, it's March the 31st, 2017, and earlier I was accused of something that I've been accused of a number of times, and I was yet again accused. I was accused for having white privilege, you guys. Somebody told me I have white privilege, and not only that, they told me I don't know what it is, and I should go educate myself. And that I do have it, that I have the white privilege. Alright, and it's something that I haven't really talked about at great length, but it's something that I have touched upon, and I want to go ahead and reiterate, and I want to establish firmly that if, say, the government wanted to send me a check in the mail for some money and I could cash it in, and on that top of that check it said white privilege, I would probably go ahead and cash it in, to be honest with you. I can't say that I wouldn't. Alright, so as far as white privilege goes, I have to let y'all know that I might go ahead and accept it if they gave it to me. I would probably talk trash about them afterwards. I would probably talk trash about the government afterwards. But I would still cash the check, and I would take it, and I would say, oh, I guess that's my white privilege and stuff. And the government's all racist, and forget them, but I got money in my pocket. That's what I would do. That being said, I gotta tell y'all, man, it kind of irks me a little bit because I haven't received it yet. I don't know what form that I should be getting it, this white privilege. Alright, but I'm still waiting on it. And like I said, no bullshit, I'm waiting on it. And if anybody wants to send me some white privilege my way, feel free to do so. They never have. I guess they just skipped over me. I can't say why that is. I have to let y'all know. My skin, it's that of a white person. Or what you would call a white person. Alright, it's a certain color, but the thing is, I don't know if I qualify. I just don't know if I qualify to get the white privilege. I mean, my mom's Hispanic, and her whole side of the family is Hispanic, and maybe I just don't qualify, and maybe that's why they skipped over me. If that is the case, shoot, man, I think they should rethink that. I think, maybe they should rethink it and let me into the club of white privilege. Send me a check or something, because I still haven't seen it, and I'm waiting on it. People accuse me sometimes of be like, well, yeah, you think the way that you think because you got the white privilege, and you can think however you want to. You got all sort of privileges. And that's what they tell me, and then I say, well, alright, if I were to believe you that I do have all these privileges, could you tell me what it is? What is it? What is it that I get that don't nobody get? That makes it so that I'm privileged. Trying to understand this, and what they do is they'll say some stuff. They'll throw out some statistics from some studies, and these could be completely legitimate studies and everything like that, but the study will be like, black people is 4 more times likely to get arrested if they're smoking a joint walking down the street. Isn't that all messed up? Black people, they're 4 times more likely to get arrested for smoking a joint down the street. And it always has something to do with drugs. Like, they'll be like, well, a white skinned person, they'll get less jail time for the same kind of drugs, for the exact same kind of drugs as these black people with the same amount of drugs. Alright, they'll get all sort of time, the black people, and the white people won't hardly see any time, and that's a form of white privilege. Alright, and you know what? All this might very well be true. In fact, I don't think it is necessarily. I don't really think it is, because here's the thing. Chances are, if you run by a cop, right, and you're smoking a joint, and you're a black person, you're walking down the street, the cop stops you and says, hey, are you smoking a joint? I'm going to have to arrest you. More than likely, here's what I'm willing to bet you, and I'm willing to bet you my last dollar, right, that very same cop would arrest a white person for walking down the street smoking a joint and stuff like that. That is what would happen. Alright, so number one, that's kind of debunked right there. I mean, the thing is, you probably, no matter what race you are, probably shouldn't be smoking joints down the street, especially if it's illegal in your estate and stuff. Probably either way. So it's like, dude, white privilege or not, probably shouldn't be smoking joints down the street unless you're ready to get arrested, and you might get arrested, right? And we were talking about, a lot of times it always comes back to drugs. Like, oh man, if a light-skinned person, if they get arrested, they're not going to see very much time for the same amount of drugs as a black person. That black person would see all sort of time and stuff. And you know what? Give you the benefit of the doubt. That might be so. That might actually be a thing where white-skinned people, they get less time, and black-skinned people, for some reason, they get more time. That might be a thing. But that all being said, it's like, dude, I personally don't want to go out selling cocaine or these drugs and stuff for a lot of reasons, but for one of the main reasons is I might get arrested and go to jail for a long, long time. I don't know how long it would be. Right? You might be looking at me and you're thinking like, oh shoot, it would be very easy for him to get into selling cocaine or slanging that dope, slanging that smack. It might be easy for him because if he gets caught, he's not going to get much jail time. Thing is, I can't bank on that. I have to assume that I will get bunches and bunches of jail time. Alright, so it's kind of one of the reasons why I don't do that. It's like, dude, I'm having trouble experiencing my white privilege. I'm really desperately asking y'all for help. If you have any sort of leftover white privilege, go ahead and let me know. Alright, because I will receive it through PayPal or whatever it is you're trying to do. You just let me know. Thing is, in the meantime, what I want to let y'all know about, and you might not know about it, you might not never have heard of it as a term, but what I have to let you know about is actually a serious thing. What it's called is rural privilege, or also known as suburb privilege. These people actually are privileged, right? And it's quite obvious, and actually I'm not really hating on them for doing so. You gotta understand that there really isn't anything about like white privilege, and that really isn't a thing necessarily. Or I mean, even if it was, it'd be far less significant from that of rural privilege and suburb privilege. All right, so I mean, just to break it down, speaking in generalities, how does a city get made? All right, from the inside out. I mean, you have people, and they live on what was called the inner city with all the buildings and all the factories and all the jobs and everywhere to work, and they live around these jobs. Right? After a while in the building of a city, if the city gets bigger, you're going to understand that people, what they'll do naturally is they'll move out of the city if they have any sort of money at all. And if they want to invest in any sort of future for themselves or their children, what they'll do is they'll move out of the cities. It's a natural progression that takes place, a migration, if you will, of people with any sort of money moving outside of the city. And as the city gets bigger, it becomes a major city. They move farther and farther outside the city. This is actually something that really does happen. And what I have to let you know is that it does provide a little bit of privilege when you think about it. And that is actually the privilege that most people are talking about when they speak about white privilege. Talking about people getting arrested, how often certain people get arrested and stuff. You're thinking about what people, you're thinking about what skin color they have. But most times what you're not thinking about is where these people are when they get arrested. Like, for instance, you could smoke a joint down the street if you want. You might get arrested, especially if you're in the inner city. And you got to understand there's cops all around you patrolling your area because it's crime riddled and it's all sort of violence. All right, but if you were to go into, say, the rural areas, let's say you live there, let's say you have a small house way outside of town in a rural area. For example, you want to walk down the street and smoke reefer, feel free to do it. There's no cops. That's what I'm here to relate to you. I mean, this doesn't encompass every single situation, but for the most part, that is where the privilege is at. And what's funny about that is it does not even close to matter what race you are. If you live in a rural area enough, if the people in your local area know who you are, you could be of any kind of race, and chances are you won't get arrested for some silly drug stuff. Chances are, unless you are doing some silly drug stuff, you might get arrested. But if you're not, you have all sort of space to breathe, and that actually that accounts for suburbs too. I mean, they get outside the city, they have their gated communities and stuff, they have their security out. I mean, it's really no playing around. They got privilege. That's what they got, the security privilege. Come out to rural areas, we got guns, we got all sort of room to stretch around. It does not matter what color you are. Chances are you're not going to get arrested in such ways. Unless you truly are slipping and you're asking to be arrested. That is rural privilege. Suburb privilege. That's an actual thing. That actually is very significant. That's something to think about, because you can't change the color of your skin. I mean, you can. There's ways to do it, and I wouldn't suggest it. But however, you can change where you live. You really can change where you live. You find a lot of people are doing just that right now. I mean, when you look at the numbers of people who are fleeing from the city of Chicago, it's a great large number. And what's weird is, like, the Chicago mayor is asking for immigrants to come, and it's going to be a safe place in Chicago, one of the murderous cities in all of the United States. Meanwhile, there's actually a mass exodus out of Chicago from people who are trying to get the hell up out of there because it is so violent. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to get the rural privilege, these people. They're trying to get the suburb privilege, and I hope they do. You know, I hope everybody can get some rural privilege out here. We all deserve privileges, and shoot, I still haven't seen none of my privileges and stuff. I want privileges for everybody. Anyways, I'll holler at y'all later about all this. You know, it's March the 31st, 2017. It's just something to think about. I mean, this whole racism thing is an illusion and stuff, and I know it blows people's minds, but we're living in a tribulation. We're living in a dang renaissance, and I'll holler at y'all later, okay?